Mark Hansen was an ordinary man leading an ordinary life. A 42-year-old accountant, he lived in the suburban quietness of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. His days were spent balancing books and managing finances for local businesses. His evenings were quieter still, shared with his wife Laura, a 38-year-old high school English teacher. They had been married for 12 years, and to Mark, their life together had always seemed solid, if not particularly remarkable. Laura was the love of his life. They met in Chicago at a mutual friend's wedding. Mark was immediately drawn to her wit and intelligence. Laura had a way with words that left him in awe, a talent she carried into her classroom every day. She had always been a voracious reader, often losing herself in thick novels while Mark watched TV or tinkered in the garage. They had no children, a decision made early in their marriage to focus on their careers and each other. Mark and Laura shared a modest 2-story home on a tree-lined street. It was the kind of neighborhood where people waved at each other and helped out with minor chores. Mark loved the stability and predictability of his life. He enjoyed his routine, jogging in the mornings, working at his firm, and then returning home to a dinner prepared by Laura, or occasionally ordering takeout when neither felt like cooking. They spent weekends gardening, visiting local parks, or enjoying quiet evenings at home. Their life was comfortable, their marriage seemingly steady. But beneath this veneer of tranquility, small cracks had started to form. Mark, ever the pragmatist, often attributed these fissures to the normal wear and tear of a long-term relationship. He was content in his bubble, believing that any issues were minor and easily fixable. He never imagined that these cracks could widen into chasms, threatening to swallow the very foundation of his marriage. Their relationship began with an unexpected spark. Mark had just moved to Cedar Rapids for a new job when he met Laura at the wedding. She was living in Chicago at the time, finishing her master's degree in English literature. They bonded over their mutual love for classic novels and spent the entire evening talking. Laura's laughter was infectious, and Mark felt an instant connection. After the wedding, they kept in touch through emails and late-night phone calls. Their relationship blossomed despite the distance, and within a year, Laura moved to Cedar Rapids. They got married in a small ceremony, surrounded by close family and friends. Their early years were filled with adventure, spontaneous road trips, and long discussions about their future. Life felt perfect. Their honeymoon was a whirlwind tour of Europe filled with museum visits, culinary adventures, and romantic strolls along cobblestone streets. They returned home with a sense of euphoria, ready to start their lives together. Mark admired Laura's passion for teaching and her dedication to her students. Laura, in turn, appreciated Mark's stability and unwavering support. Over time, they settled into a comfortable rhythm. Mark excelled in his career, earning promotions and respect within his firm. Laura became a beloved teacher, known for her engaging lessons and genuine care for her students. They were the couple everyone envied, successful, happy, and seemingly perfect for each other. Their friends often commented on how lucky they were to have found one another. However, as the years passed, the initial excitement of their relationship began to fade. The spontaneous adventures became less frequent, replaced by routines and responsibilities. Mark and Laura still loved each other, but the spark that had once ignited their romance was now a faint glow. Dear viewers, more than 90% watch my content without subscribing. If you still have not subscribed, then I ask you to do so. For me, this is the best motivation to continue. They were companions in life, partners in every sense, but something was missing. Mark noticed small changes in Laura's behavior about a year ago. She had always been sociable, but lately she seemed distant. She started spending more time at school events and coming home later than usual. Mark tried to dismiss his concerns, attributing them to her dedication to her students and her work. However, it was difficult to ignore the growing distance between them. Laura became secretive with her phone, something she had never done before. She would often step out of the room to take calls and seemed anxious when Mark asked who it was. He told himself it was probably just a colleague or a student needing extra help, but a nagging feeling in his gut said otherwise. On weekends, Laura began making excuses to leave the house. Errands that took longer than expected. Sudden meetings with friends he had never heard of before. Her absences left Mark feeling increasingly lonely and confused. He found himself replaying conversations in his mind, searching for clues that might explain her behavior. Laura, who once shared every detail of her day, now seemed to be living a separate life. One night, while Laura was asleep, Mark lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He tried to convince himself that he was overthinking things, that it was just a rough patch that every marriage went through. But the unease gnawed at him, refusing to be ignored. He decided to pay closer attention, hoping to find a rational explanation for Laura's actions. Mark started noticing inconsistencies in Laura's stories. She would mention meeting a friend for coffee, but when he casually brought it up later, she couldn't remember the details. Her phone buzzed with messages that she quickly dismissed or ignored in his presence. Mark's suspicions grew stronger, but he was reluctant to confront her without concrete evidence. He feared what he might find and the potential consequences for their marriage. Mark's suspicions grew stronger over time. He decided to take a closer look at Laura's activities. One evening, while she was in the shower, he glanced at her phone. There were numerous texts from a number he didn't recognize. The messages were vague, filled with inside jokes and casual references to shared moments that Mark was unaware of. He felt a pang of jealousy and fear, but decided not to jump to conclusions. Determined to find out the truth, Mark began paying closer attention to Laura's schedule. He started noting the days she came home late and cross-referenced them with school events. One evening, he followed her after she said she had a parent-teacher meeting. To his surprise, she didn't go to the school but instead drove to a downtown cafe. She met a man there, and they talked animatedly, laughing and leaning in close. Mark felt his heart sink. The man Laura met at the cafe was a mystery to Mark. He decided to dig deeper. He hired a private investigator to follow Laura and gather more information. The investigator confirmed his worst fears. Laura was having an affair. The man, David, was a fellow teacher at her school, someone she had grown close to over the past year. They often met during school hours, and occasionally outside of work, sharing intimate moments and secrets. Mark felt a wave of emotions wash over him, from anger to sadness to betrayal. He confronted Laura one evening, showing her the photos and messages he had collected. She didn't deny it. Instead, she looked at him with tears in her eyes and confessed. She admitted that she had fallen out of love with him and had found solace in David's company. The betrayal cut deep, and Mark felt a part of him break. The reality of Laura's betrayal hit Mark like a freight train. He spent hours staring at the evidence, trying to make sense of it all. The woman he had trusted implicitly, who he had built a life with, had been deceiving him for months. He felt a mix of rage and sorrow, the two emotions intertwining in a painful dance that left him exhausted and numb. Laura's confession was direct. She told Mark how her relationship with David had started innocently enough. They were colleagues who shared a passion for teaching and literature. Over time, their professional relationship turned into friendship. Dear viewers, I ask you to subscribe to the channel under this video. I will be very grateful to you. And eventually, it crossed the line into something more. Laura admitted that she felt a connection with David that she hadn't felt with Mark in years. It wasn't just about the physical aspect, she insisted. It was the emotional bond they had formed. Mark listened in silence as Laura poured out her heart. He wanted to scream, to demand why she had done this to him, but he couldn't find the words. Instead, he felt a hollow emptiness. He had loved her completely, trusted her, and now he was faced with the reality that their marriage had been a lie for months. The betrayal was complete, and there was no going back. After Laura's confession, Mark found it hard to look at her. He moved into the guest bedroom, unable to sleep beside her anymore. Their home, once a place of comfort and love, now felt like a prison filled with painful memories. Mark avoided Laura as much as possible, burying himself in work and spending long hours at the office. The thought of returning to the house filled him with dread. Laura tried to talk to him several times, seeking forgiveness and understanding. She insisted that her relationship with David was over, that she wanted to rebuild their marriage. But Mark couldn't see a way forward. The trust between them was shattered, and he didn't know if it could ever be repaired. He felt adrift, unsure of what to do next. After the confrontation, Mark was unsure of his next steps. He felt lost and unsure of what to do. He took some time off work to clear his head and think about his future. He consulted a lawyer and explored his options for divorce. The lawyer advised him to gather more evidence and prepare for a potentially contentious process. Mark also reached out to a therapist to help him process his emotions and understand his feelings. The sessions were cathartic, providing him with a safe space to vent and explore his thoughts. He realized that while the betrayal had shattered his trust, he needed to take control of his life and make decisions that were best for him. During one therapy session, Mark's therapist suggested he create a plan of action. This involved setting short-term and long-term goals to help him navigate the turbulent waters ahead. Mark started by focusing on his immediate needs: finding a new place to live, separating their finances, and ensuring his emotional well-being. He also began thinking about his long-term goals, such as rebuilding his life and finding happiness again. Mark's first priority was finding a new place to live. He couldn't bear to stay in the house that had become a constant reminder of Laura's betrayal. He found a small apartment downtown, close to his office. It was a modest space, but it offered him a fresh start. Moving out of their home was both liberating and heartbreaking. He packed his belongings with a heavy heart, knowing that he was leaving behind a significant part of his life. As he settled into his new apartment, Mark focused on creating a new routine. He started jogging again, finding solace in the rhythmic pounding of his feet against the pavement. He also began cooking for himself, experimenting with new recipes and enjoying the process of creating something from scratch. These small acts of self-care helped him regain a sense of control and normalcy. Mark's therapist encouraged him to keep a journal, to write down his thoughts and feelings as a way to process his emotions. Mark found the practice therapeutic, a way to untangle the complicated web of emotions he was experiencing. He wrote about his anger, his sadness, and his hopes for the future. The journal became a companion on his journey towards healing. The divorce process was grueling and emotionally draining. Laura agreed to an amicable separation, and they worked through the details of dividing their assets and settling their debts. The house, which had been their sanctuary, was sold, and they both moved to separate apartments. The divorce was finalized after several months of negotiations and paperwork. Mark felt a sense of relief when it was over, but also a profound sadness. The life he had built with Laura was gone, and he had to start over. He threw himself into his work, finding solace in the routine and structure it provided. He also reconnected with old friends and family, seeking their support and advice during this difficult time. During the divorce proceedings, Mark and Laura maintained a civil relationship. They communicated through their lawyers and occasionally met to discuss the details of their separation. Each meeting was painful, a reminder of what they had lost. Despite the emotional turmoil, Mark remained focused on the end goal: a clean break and a chance to rebuild his life. Mark's lawyer was a seasoned professional, guiding him through the legal complexities of the divorce. They discussed the division of assets, spousal support, and the sale of their home. Mark was determined to be fair, but he also wanted to protect his own interests. The process was a delicate balance of negotiation and compromise, with both sides making concessions. As the months passed, Mark and Laura's lives began to diverge. They no longer shared the same space, the same routines, or the same future. The finalization of their divorce marked the end of a significant chapter in Mark's life. He felt a mix of relief and sorrow, knowing that he was free to move on, but also grieving the loss of the life they had built together. Mark sought advice from those he trusted, hoping to gain some perspective on his situation. His best friend John had gone through a similar experience a few years earlier and offered valuable insights. John advised him to focus on self-care and to take things one day at a time. He encouraged Mark to explore new hobbies and interests, to rediscover himself outside of his marriage. Mark also joined a support group for individuals going through divorce. The group provided a sense of community and understanding that he desperately needed. Sharing his story with others who had similar experiences helped him feel less alone and more hopeful about the future. He began to see the light at the end of the tunnel and took small steps towards rebuilding his life. In his support group, Mark met people from all walks of life. Each person had their own story of betrayal, heartbreak, and recovery. Hearing their experiences helped Mark gain perspective on his own situation. He realized that he wasn't alone, that many others had faced similar challenges and had found a way to move forward. The group meetings became a source of strength and encouragement for him. Mark's family was also a crucial support system. His parents, who lived a few hours away in Des Moines, were a constant source of comfort. They invited him to visit often, providing a safe haven where he could relax and feel cared for. His siblings, both married with children, offered advice and support. sharing their own experiences with the ups and downs of relationships. Mark's colleagues at work noticed the change in him and offered their support as well. His boss, understanding the personal turmoil Mark was going through, gave him the flexibility to take time off when needed. His coworkers invited him to social events, helping him stay connected and engaged. The kindness and understanding he received from those around him made a significant difference in his journey towards healing. Mark's journey towards rebuilding his life was gradual and filled with small victories. He continued his therapy sessions, finding value in the ongoing support and guidance. His therapist helped him set new goals and encouraged him to step out of his comfort zone. Mark started exploring new hobbies, such as photography and hiking, discovering a passion for capturing the beauty of nature through his lens. He also focused on his professional development, taking on new challenges at work and enrolling in courses to expand his skills. His dedication paid off, earning him a promotion and recognition within his firm. The success boosted his confidence and reminded him of his capabilities. Mark began to see himself not just as a man recovering from a broken marriage, but as a strong, capable individual with a bright future. Socially, Mark started to re-engage with old friends and make new connections. He attended social events, joined clubs, and even tried his hand at online dating. While he wasn't ready for a serious relationship, he enjoyed meeting new people and exploring the possibilities. These interactions helped him regain a sense of normalcy and reminded him that life goes on. Mark's new apartment became a sanctuary, a place where he could truly be himself. He decorated it to reflect his tastes and interests, filling it with books, photographs, and art that inspired him. The space felt like a fresh start, free from the memories of his past life. It was a place where he could heal and grow. Mark's journey was far from easy, but he emerged stronger and more resilient. He learned to forgive himself for not seeing the signs earlier, and to let go of the anger and resentment he felt towards Laura. The divorce had been a painful chapter in his life, but it also opened the door to new opportunities and personal growth. He continued his therapy sessions and found peace in his new routines. He started volunteering at a local community center, giving back to his community and finding fulfillment in helping others. He also rekindled his love for reading, finding comfort in the stories that once brought him and Laura together. Mark's story is one of betrayal, heartbreak, and ultimately, renewal. He learned that even in the darkest of times, there is always a path forward. His experience taught him the importance of self-care, the value of supportive relationships, and the strength that lies within each of us to overcome adversity. My name is John Edwards, and I'm a 45-year-old financial analyst living in Austin, Texas. My wife Mary and I met 16 years ago at a charity gala in Dallas. I still remember the first moment I saw her, standing by the bar, her dark hair cascading down her shoulders, a glass of wine in hand. Mary was a marketing executive, vibrant and full of life, and her energy drew me to her immediately. She was 33 then, 2 years younger than me, and we connected over our shared passion for philanthropy and travel. We started dating soon after, and quickly became inseparable. We spent our weekends exploring the hill country, visiting wineries, and taking spontaneous road trips to nearby cities. Life felt like an adventure, and 3 years later, we decided to get married. Our wedding was a grand affair, held at a historic mansion in Austin, surrounded by family and friends. I remember feeling an overwhelming sense of joy and anticipation for the future we were about to build together. Our careers were flourishing. I was climbing the corporate ladder at a major investment firm, while Mary was making a name for herself in the marketing world. We were both driven and ambitious, and our busy schedules often kept us apart. But we always made an effort to spend quality time together. We bought a beautiful house in the Barton Creek neighborhood, a place that felt like our sanctuary. Life was hectic, but we were happy and deeply in love. About a year ago, I started noticing subtle changes in Mary's behavior. It began with minor things, her staying late at work more frequently, her being more secretive with her phone, and an increase in business trips. Initially, I dismissed these changes as the demands of her growing career. However, as time went on, these behaviors became more pronounced and harder to ignore. One evening, Mary came home later than usual, claiming she had a late meeting with a new client. She seemed distracted and aloof, and when I asked her about her day, she gave vague answers and quickly changed the topic. This wasn't the Mary I knew. My gut feeling told me something was off, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions without evidence. Then there were the text messages. I would occasionally see her phone light up with messages from someone named Tom. When I asked who Tom was, she told me he was a new colleague she was collaborating with on a big project. I wanted to believe her, but a seed of doubt had been planted. The turning point came one weekend, when Mary went on a supposed business trip to Houston. She left her work laptop at home, something she never did. My curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to check her emails. What I found made my heart sink. There were numerous emails from Tom, and their tone was far too personal for a professional relationship. They talked about their feelings, shared inside jokes, and even mentioned plans to meet up. I needed more proof before confronting Mary. I began looking through our phone records and noticed an alarming number of calls and texts to Tom, especially late at night and during weekends. This wasn't just a work relationship. Determined to uncover the truth, I took a day off work without telling Mary and decided to follow her. My heart pounded as I tailed her car through the streets of Austin. She didn't go to her office. Instead, she drove to a quaint cafe downtown. I parked at a distance and watched as she met Tom, a tall man with a charming smile. They greeted each other with a hug that lasted a bit too long. My mind raced with 1,000 thoughts, but I knew I needed more concrete evidence. I hired a private investigator to follow Mary and document her interactions with Tom. It felt like an extreme measure, but I couldn't live with the uncertainty any longer. The investigator was discreet and professional. Within a week, he provided me with photos and detailed reports of Mary and Tom's meetings. Dear viewers, more than 90% watch my content without subscribing. If you still have not subscribed, then I ask you to do so. For me, this is the best motivation to continue. They weren't just having lunches, they were spending weekends together, staying at hotels, and even taking trips. I confronted Mary one evening after she returned from another business trip. I laid the photos and reports on the dining table and asked her to explain. Her face turned pale, and she couldn't meet my eyes. After a long silence, she admitted to the affair. She tried to justify it by saying she felt neglected and unappreciated in our marriage, that Tom made her feel special in a way she hadn't felt in years. Hearing those words was like a dagger to the heart. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal. But I knew that yelling or arguing wouldn't change what had happened. I needed to think clearly about my next steps. I took a few days off work to process everything. I reached out to my old college friend Mike, who had gone through a divorce a few years earlier. Mike was a great listener and offered practical advice. He recommended a reputable divorce attorney and advised me to gather all necessary financial documents. Mary and I had a long conversation about our future. She expressed remorse and asked for forgiveness, but I knew I couldn't just overlook her betrayal. The trust between us had been shattered, and I couldn't see a way to rebuild it. We agreed to a trial separation to give ourselves space to think about what we really wanted. The trial separation made it clear that there was no going back. The trust and intimacy we once shared were gone. I filed for divorce, and Mary didn't contest it. We agreed to an amicable split of our assets, and the process went relatively smoothly. The hardest part was explaining everything to our friends and family. Most were shocked, as we had always seemed like the perfect couple. The divorce was finalized a few months later. We sold our house in Barton Creek, and I moved into a smaller apartment downtown. Mary found a place of her own, and we went our separate ways. It was a painful and lonely time, but I knew it was the right decision. After the divorce, I threw myself into my work to distract myself from the pain, but I knew I needed more than just work to heal. I started seeing a therapist to help me process my emotions and rebuild my life. The therapist helped me understand that Mary's infidelity was not my fault, and that I needed to focus on my own well-being. I also joined a support group for people going through divorce. Sharing my story with others who had experienced similar situations was incredibly cathartic. I made new friends who provided a sense of community and understanding. I started to feel hopeful about the future again. It's been a year since the divorce, and I'm finally starting to feel like myself again. I've taken up new hobbies, like cooking and cycling, and I've reconnected with old friends. I've even started dating again, though I'm taking things slow. Trusting someone new is a challenge, but I'm learning to open up again. Looking back, I realized that Mary's infidelity was a turning point in my life. It forced me to reevaluate my priorities and focus on my own happiness. I've learned a lot about myself and what I want from a relationship. While the pain of betrayal still lingers, I'm determined to move forward and create a new chapter in my life. Reflecting on my marriage with Mary, I see now that there were warning signs I chose to ignore. We'd grown apart over the years, caught up in our own careers and personal ambitions. The love and connection we once had were slowly eroded by neglect and complacency. It's easy to see these things in hindsight, but at the time I was blind to the gradual decline of our relationship. I've come to terms with the fact that our marriage was not meant to last. People change, and sometimes they grow apart. While I will always cherish the good times we had, I know that holding on to the past will only prevent me from moving forward. I've forgiven Mary, not for her sake, but for mine. Holding on to anger and resentment will only keep me trapped in a cycle of pain. As I stand on the brink of a new chapter in my life, I feel a sense of hope and possibility. The experience of going through a divorce has made me stronger and more resilient. I've learned to prioritize my own needs and to seek out relationships that are built on mutual respect and trust. I'm excited about the future and the opportunities it holds. I've started volunteering at a local community center, helping underprivileged kids learn about financial literacy. It's a way for me to give back and to share my passion for finance with the next generation. I've also started exploring the idea of starting my own consulting business, something I've always dreamed of but never had the courage to pursue. Life after divorce is not easy, but it's a journey of self-discovery and growth. I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned and the person I've become. And while the pain of betrayal will always be a part of my story, it no longer defines me. I'm ready to embrace the future and whatever it may bring. The initial phase of my relationship with Mary was filled with joy and excitement. Our love seemed unbreakable, and we shared many dreams and aspirations. But as the years went by, the pressures of our demanding careers began to take a toll on our relationship. We were both so focused on achieving our professional goals that we started to neglect the emotional and physical connection that had brought us together in the first place. About 2 years ago, I noticed that Mary had become increasingly withdrawn and distant. She often seemed preoccupied and less interested in spending time with me. She started attending more work-related events and frequently stayed out late, citing work commitments. I wanted to believe that these were genuine professional obligations, but a nagging feeling of doubt began to grow inside me. One day, while Mary was away on one of her business trips, I decided to clean up the house. As I was tidying up her home office, I came across a small box hidden behind some books on her shelf. Inside the box, I found a collection of receipts from expensive restaurants and hotels, all from cities she claimed to have visited for work. The dates on the receipts matched the time she had told me she was out of town. My mind raced with questions. Why was she hiding these receipts? Why hadn't she mentioned any of these places to me? I felt a knot in my stomach, but I pushed the thoughts aside, convincing myself that I was being paranoid. However, the seed of doubt had been planted, and it continued to grow. A few months later, Mary mentioned she had to attend a weekend conference in Denver. I decided to use the opportunity to surprise her by joining her there. I booked a flight and a hotel room, planning to show up at her conference and take her out for a romantic dinner. But when I arrived at the conference venue, Mary was nowhere to be found. I called her, and she answered, sounding surprised and a bit panicked. She told me she was in a meeting and couldn't talk, but something in her voice seemed off. I decided to wait for her outside the conference center. After a couple of hours, I saw her walking out, arm in arm with a man I had never seen before. Dear viewers, I ask you to subscribe to the channel under this video. I will be very grateful to you. They were laughing and looked very much like a couple. I approached them, my heart pounding. When Mary saw me, her face turned white. The man, who introduced himself as Tom, seemed just as startled. I asked Mary to explain what was going on, and she fumbled for words, finally claiming that Tom was just a colleague and that they had been discussing work. I wanted to believe her, but the evidence was too damning. I confronted her about the receipts and the numerous late nights. She tried to reassure me, but her explanations were full of holes. The trust I had in her was eroding fast, and I knew deep down that something was very wrong. The real turning point came when I discovered an email exchange between Mary and Tom on our home computer. She had left her email open, and I couldn't help but notice the subject line of one of the emails: "Our weekend together." My hands trembled as I opened the email and read through their conversations. They spoke about their feelings for each other, their secret meetings, and their plans to spend more time together. I felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak. Mary had been lying to me for months, possibly even years. The woman I thought I knew and loved had been deceiving me all along. I decided that I needed to take decisive action. This couldn't continue any longer. I spent the next few days gathering all the evidence I could find. I printed out the emails, gathered the receipts, and took notes on all the suspicious activities. I knew that I needed to confront Mary with undeniable proof. It wasn't just about catching her in a lie. It was about getting the truth and understanding why this had happened. I reached out to my friend Sarah, who was a lawyer. She advised me on the legal aspects of what I was about to do and recommended a good divorce attorney. I wasn't sure if I was ready for divorce, but I knew that I needed to prepare for all possible outcomes. One evening, after Mary returned from work, I asked her to sit down for a serious conversation. I laid out all the evidence in front of her: the emails, the receipts, the phone records. She stared at the table, her face devoid of color. There was no denying it now. Mary broke down in tears and confessed everything. She admitted to the affair with Tom, saying that it had started about a year ago. She tried to explain that she had felt neglected and lonely, that Tom had made her feel alive and appreciated, but her words felt like hollow excuses to me. The days following the confrontation were some of the hardest of my life. Mary and I had numerous emotional conversations, and while she expressed deep remorse and begged for forgiveness, I knew that the damage was too severe. The trust that formed the foundation of our relationship had been shattered, and I couldn't see a way to rebuild it. I made the painful decision to file for divorce. It was not an easy choice, but I knew it was the right one for my own well-being. Mary didn't contest the divorce. We agreed to an amicable division of our assets and went through the legal process as smoothly as possible under the circumstances. While we had agreed to an amicable split, the legal process was still challenging. We had to disentangle our lives, dividing our assets and figuring out what to do with the house we had shared. Our lawyers handled most of the negotiations, but there were still moments of tension and disagreement. The hardest part was dealing with the emotional fallout. Every meeting with the lawyers, every discussion about our assets, felt like reopening the wound. I tried to stay focused on the future, but it was difficult to let go of the past and the life we had built together. Once the divorce was finalized, I moved out of our house and into a small apartment downtown. It was a drastic change from the spacious home we had shared, but it felt like a fresh start. I focused on creating a new routine for myself, one that didn't revolve around Mary. I threw myself into my work and started taking on more responsibilities at the firm. I also began seeing a therapist to help me navigate the emotional turbulence. The therapist was instrumental in helping me process my feelings of betrayal and loss. She helped me understand that while Mary's actions had hurt me deeply, I needed to focus on my own healing and growth. In the months following the divorce, I started to rediscover myself. I took up running and joined a local running club. The physical activity was a great way to clear my mind and relieve stress. I also reconnected with old friends and made an effort to expand my social circle. One of the most significant changes was my decision to volunteer at a local financial literacy program. Teaching others about managing their finances not only gave me a sense of purpose, but also helped me regain my confidence. It was fulfilling to see the impact I could make on others' lives. As time went on, I started to feel more comfortable with the idea of dating again. I joined a few online dating sites and went on several dates. It was a strange and sometimes awkward experience, but it also helped me learn more about what I wanted in a relationship. I met a woman named Lisa through a mutual friend. She was kind, intelligent, and had a great sense of humor. We started seeing each other casually, and while I was cautious about jumping into a new relationship too quickly, I found myself genuinely enjoying her company. Lisa understood my past and was patient with me as I navigated my feelings. Looking back on my journey, I see how far I've come since discovering Mary's infidelity. The pain of betrayal was immense, but it forced me to reevaluate my life and priorities. I've learned to value my own happiness and well-being above all else. I've also come to understand that people change, and sometimes relationships don't last. It's a part of life. The key is to learn from these experiences and use them to grow and become a better person. I no longer hold any resentment towards Mary. I've forgiven her, not for her sake, but for mine. Holding on to anger and bitterness would only prevent me from moving forward. As I continue to rebuild my life, I've found a new sense of purpose. Volunteering and helping others have become a central part of my life. I've also started working on a book about financial literacy, hoping to reach a wider audience and make a more significant impact. I've realized that my journey is far from over. There will always be challenges and setbacks, but I'm stronger and more resilient now. I'm excited about the future and the opportunities it holds. I've learned that while the pain of betrayal will always be a part of my story, it doesn't define me. I'm ready to embrace whatever comes next. As I stand on the threshold of this new chapter in my life, I feel a sense of optimism and excitement. The experience of going through a divorce has taught me invaluable lessons about resilience, self-care, and the importance of genuine connections. I've learned to prioritize my own needs and to seek out relationships that are built on mutual respect and trust. I'm excited about the future and the possibilities it holds. I've started exploring new hobbies and interests, such as photography and cooking, which bring me joy and fulfillment. I've also continued to nurture my relationship with Lisa, taking things one day at a time and enjoying the journey together. Life after divorce is not easy, but it's a journey of self-discovery and growth. I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned and the person I've become. The pain of betrayal no longer defines me. It has shaped me into a stronger, more resilient individual. I'm ready to embrace the future with an open heart and an open mind. The road ahead is filled with uncertainty, but it's also filled with endless possibilities. I'm looking forward to the adventures that await and the new experiences that will shape my journey. With each step I take, I'm moving forward, leaving the past behind and embracing a future filled with hope, love, and happiness. As I continue to navigate this new phase of my life, I'm constantly reminded of the importance of personal growth and self-reflection. Each day presents an opportunity to learn and evolve, and I'm committed to making the most of these opportunities. I've started attending personal development workshops and seminars, eager to expand my knowledge and skills. These experiences have been incredibly enriching, allowing me to connect with like-minded individuals and gain new perspectives. They've also reinforced the importance of maintaining a positive mindset and staying open to change. Building new relationships has been both challenging and rewarding. I've learned to approach new connections with an open heart, while also being mindful of the lessons from my past. Trust is something that needs to be rebuilt slowly, and I'm taking my time to ensure that any new relationships are founded on honesty and mutual respect. Lisa has been a significant part of this journey. Our relationship continues to grow stronger, and I'm grateful for her understanding and support. She's helped me see that it's possible to love again, even after experiencing profound betrayal. We've shared many memorable moments, and I look forward to creating more together. As I look ahead, I'm filled with a sense of hope and excitement. The future is unwritten, and I'm eager to see where it takes me. I've set new goals for myself, both personally and professionally, and I'm determined to achieve them. One of my long-term goals is to start my own financial consulting firm. It's a dream I've had for years, and I'm finally in a place where I feel ready to pursue it. I want to use my expertise to help others achieve financial stability and success. It's a way for me to give back and make a positive impact on the world. Change is a constant in life, and I've learned to embrace it rather than fear it. The experience of going through a divorce has taught me that even the most challenging situations can lead to growth and new opportunities. I'm no longer afraid of the unknown. Instead, I see it as an adventure waiting to unfold. I've come to appreciate the beauty of starting over. It's a chance to redefine myself and create a life that aligns with my values and aspirations. I'm grateful for the journey I've been on, and I'm excited about the path ahead. The journey of healing and growth is ongoing. There will always be new challenges to face and new lessons to learn, but I'm confident in my ability to navigate whatever comes my way. I've built a strong foundation for myself, and I'm ready to continue building on it. I've also learned the importance of self-compassion. It's easy to be hard on myself for the mistakes I've made or the pain I've experienced, but I've realized that being kind to myself is essential for my well-being. I'm not perfect, and that's okay. What matters is that I'm doing my best and continuing to move forward. Finding balance in life is crucial. I've learned to prioritize my physical, emotional, and mental well-being. This means making time for activities that bring me joy, spending time with loved ones, and taking care of my health. I've also started practicing mindfulness and meditation. These practices have helped me stay grounded and focused, allowing me to navigate life's ups and downs with greater ease. They've also taught me the importance of living in the present moment and appreciating the simple joys of life. As I embrace new opportunities, I'm reminded of the importance of staying open-minded and flexible. Life is full of surprises, and being willing to adapt and change is essential for personal growth and success. I've started exploring new career opportunities and taking on new challenges at work. These experiences have been incredibly fulfilling and have helped me grow both professionally and personally. I'm excited about the possibilities that lie ahead and eager to see where my journey takes me. Throughout this journey, I've come to appreciate the importance of community and support. The people around us play a crucial role in our lives, and I'm grateful for the friends, family, and support groups that have been there for me. I've made it a point to stay connected with my support network and to offer support to others in return. Building and maintaining these relationships has been incredibly rewarding and has helped me feel more grounded and connected. Learning is a lifelong process, and I'm committed to continuing my education and personal development. I've enrolled in several online courses and workshops, eager to expand my knowledge and skills. These learning experiences have been incredibly enriching and have helped me stay engaged and motivated. They've also opened up new opportunities for growth and development, both personally and professionally. As I reflect on my journey, I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned and the person I've become. The experience of going through a divorce was painful, but it has also been a catalyst for growth and self-discovery. I've learned the importance of resilience, self-care, and staying true to myself. I've also learned to appreciate the journey, with all its ups and downs. Every experience, no matter how challenging, has contributed to my growth and development. The future is bright, and I'm excited about the possibilities that lie ahead. I'm ready to embrace new opportunities, build new relationships, and continue my journey of growth and self-discovery. I'm grateful for the support and love I've received from my friends, family, and new connections. They've helped me navigate this challenging journey and have been a source of strength and inspiration. As I continue my journey, I'm committed to staying true to myself and prioritizing my well-being. I'm excited about the future and eager to see where it takes me. With each step I take, I'm moving forward, leaving the past behind and embracing a future filled with hope, love, and happiness. Life will always present challenges, but I've learned to face them with courage and resilience. Each challenge is an opportunity for growth and learning, and I'm ready to embrace them with an open heart and mind. I'm grateful for the journey I've been on and the person I've become. I'm excited about the future and the endless possibilities it holds. With each new day, I'm moving forward, building a life that aligns with my values and aspirations. This is a new beginning for me, a chance to create a life filled with joy, love, and fulfillment. I'm ready to embrace the future with an open heart and an open mind, eager to see where my journey takes me. The pain of betrayal no longer defines me. It has shaped me into a stronger, more resilient individual. I'm ready to embrace the future and whatever it may bring. Throughout this journey, I've come to realize the importance of self-care. Taking care of my physical, emotional, and mental well-being has been crucial for my healing and growth. I've made it a priority to engage in activities that bring me joy and fulfillment. I've started practicing yoga and meditation, which have helped me stay grounded and focused. These practices have taught me the importance of being present and appreciating the simple pleasures in life. They've also helped me develop a greater sense of self-awareness and inner peace. Building a strong support network has been essential for my recovery. I've surrounded myself with people who uplift and support me, and I've made an effort to stay connected with them. Whether it's through regular meetups, phone calls, or online chats, maintaining these relationships has been incredibly important. I've also joined several support groups for people who have gone through similar experiences. Sharing my story and listening to others has been incredibly therapeutic. It's comforting to know that I'm not alone and that there are others who understand what I'm going through. Exploring new interests and hobbies has been a significant part of my healing process. I've started taking cooking classes, something I've always wanted to do but never had the time for. Learning new recipes and techniques has been a lot of fun and has given me a sense of accomplishment. I've also taken up photography, capturing the beauty of the world around me. It's a creative outlet that allows me to express myself and see things from a different perspective. These new interests have brought a sense of joy and fulfillment to my life. Professionally, I've continued to grow and develop. I've taken on new challenges at work and have pursued additional training and certifications. These experiences have helped me build my confidence and have opened up new opportunities for advancement. I've also started mentoring junior colleagues, sharing my knowledge and experience with them. It's been incredibly rewarding to see them grow and succeed. Mentoring has also helped me reflect on my own journey and appreciate how far I've come. Setting new goals has been an essential part of my journey. Whether it's personal, professional, or financial, having goals gives me a sense of direction and purpose. I've learned to set realistic and achievable goals, and I've created a plan to work towards them. One of my long-term goals is to travel more and explore new places. I've started planning trips to destinations I've always wanted to visit. Traveling is a way for me to step out of my comfort zone and experience new cultures and perspectives. Celebrating my achievements, no matter how small, has been an important part of my healing process. Each milestone is a testament to my strength and resilience. I've learned to acknowledge and appreciate my progress, rather than focusing solely on the challenges. Whether it's completing a project at work, mastering a new recipe, or reaching a personal fitness goal, I make it a point to celebrate these moments. It's a way to remind myself of how far I've come and to stay motivated for the future. Forgiveness has played a crucial role in my healing journey. Holding on to anger and resentment would only hold me back. I've learned to forgive Mary, not for her sake, but for my own. Letting go of the pain and hurt has allowed me to move forward with a lighter heart. I've also learned to forgive myself for any mistakes or shortcomings. Self-compassion is essential for healing and growth. I'm not perfect, and that's okay. What matters is that I'm doing my best and continuing to move forward. Living in the present moment has been a significant lesson for me. It's easy to get caught up in the past or worry about the future, but I've learned the importance of appreciating the here and now. Each day is a new opportunity to create a fulfilling and meaningful life. Mindfulness practices, such as meditation and yoga, have helped me stay grounded and focused on the present. They've taught me to appreciate the simple joys of life and to approach each day with gratitude and positivity. As I look to the future, I'm filled with a sense of hope and excitement. I'm ready to embrace new opportunities, build new relationships, and continue my journey of growth and self-discovery. The pain of the past no longer defines me. It has shaped me into a stronger, more resilient individual. I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned and the person I've become. I'm excited about the future and eager to see where my journey takes me. With each step I take, I'm moving forward, leaving the past behind and embracing a future filled with hope, love, and happiness. This is a new beginning for me, a chance to create a life filled with joy, love, and fulfillment. I'm ready to embrace the future with an open heart and an open mind, eager to see where my journey takes me. The pain of betrayal no longer defines me. It has shaped me into a stronger, more resilient individual. I'm ready to embrace the future and whatever it may bring. My name is Andrew Walker, and my story takes place in Portland, Oregon, where I grew up in a quiet suburban neighborhood. My parents were high school teachers, and I followed in their footsteps by pursuing a career in education. After graduating from the University of Oregon with a degree in English, I became a high school English teacher in a nearby town. Teaching was more than just a job for me. It was a passion, and I loved inspiring young minds with the beauty of literature. I met Jessica Moore at a local coffee shop on a rainy afternoon. She was a freelance graphic designer who had recently moved to Portland from Seattle. Jessica was sitting alone, sketching in a notebook, and I couldn't help but notice the intricate details of her drawings. Mustering up the courage, I approached her and struck up a conversation. We talked about our favorite books, art, and our love for the Pacific Northwest. That conversation was the beginning of our journey together. Jessica and I quickly became inseparable. Our shared interests and mutual respect for each other's work made our bond strong. We spent weekends exploring Portland's vibrant art scene, hiking in Forest Park, and enjoying quiet nights at home with a good book. Jessica's creativity complemented my love for literature, and we often found ourselves discussing new projects and ideas late into the night. After a year of dating, we moved in together. Our apartment in the Pearl District was small but cozy, filled with books and art supplies. We often hosted dinner parties for our friends, who admired our close relationship and mutual support. It wasn't long before I proposed, and we got married in a small ceremony at a vineyard in the Willamette Valley. Life seemed perfect, and we were excited about our future together. The first few years of our marriage were blissful. Jessica's career as a graphic designer took off, and she started working with high-profile clients, which sometimes required her to travel. I was proud of her success, and I continued to find joy in teaching. However, as time went on, I began to notice small changes in her behavior. Jessica became more secretive about her phone and started staying late at her studio. I tried to ignore my growing suspicions, telling myself that her career demands were the cause. But when she began taking frequent trips to Los Angeles, ostensibly for work, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She would often return home distracted and distant, and our once vibrant conversations became strained. My suspicions grew to the point where I could no longer ignore them. One evening, while Jessica was away on another trip, I decided to look through our phone records. What I found was alarming. There were numerous calls and text messages to a number I didn't recognize, often late at night. The messages were frequent and intimate, indicating a relationship far beyond professional. Desperate for answers, I hired a private investigator to follow Jessica on her next trip to Los Angeles. The wait for his report was excruciating, filled with sleepless nights and constant anxiety. When the investigator finally contacted me, my worst fears were confirmed. Jessica had been meeting with a man named Mark Evans, a marketing executive she had met through one of her clients. I confronted Jessica the night she returned from Los Angeles. Armed with the evidence, I demanded an explanation. At first, she tried to deny everything, but as I presented the photos and phone records, her facade crumbled. Dear viewers, more than 90% watch my content without subscribing. If you still have not subscribed, then I ask you to do so. For me, this is the best motivation to continue. She admitted to the affair, explaining that it had started as a professional relationship but quickly became more personal. Her confession hit me like a ton of bricks. I felt a mixture of anger, betrayal, and profound sadness. Jessica apologized repeatedly, claiming she still loved me and wanted to work things out. But the trust between us was shattered, and I couldn't see a way to rebuild it. We agreed to separate temporarily while we figured out our next steps, and Jessica moved out to stay with a friend. In the weeks following our separation, I focused on my work and sought support from friends and family. My best friend Tom was a rock during this time, offering advice and a shoulder to lean on. He suggested I see a therapist to help process my emotions and make sense of what had happened. Reluctantly, I made an appointment with Dr. Rachel Brooks, a therapist who specialized in relationship issues. Dr. Brooks helped me navigate the complex emotions I was experiencing. Through our sessions, I began to understand the underlying issues in my marriage and the reasons behind Jessica's infidelity. It was a painful process, but it provided clarity and a sense of direction. I realized that I needed to prioritize my own well-being and make decisions that were best for my future. After months of counseling and soul-searching, I came to the conclusion that our marriage couldn't be saved. Jessica and I met to discuss our options, and we both agreed that divorce was the best course of action. The legal process was difficult and emotionally draining, but we managed to keep things amicable for the most part. Dividing our assets and deciding who would get what was a painful reminder of the life we had built together. I moved out of our apartment and into a small house in a quieter part of town. Jessica found her own place, and we began the process of untangling our lives from each other. The final court date was bittersweet, marking the end of our marriage and the beginning of a new chapter for both of us. In the aftermath of the divorce, I continued to see Dr. Brooks, who helped me cope with the feelings of loss and betrayal. She encouraged me to focus on self-care and to take time to heal before jumping into a new relationship. I also joined a support group for people who had gone through infidelity and divorce. Sharing my story and hearing others' experiences was incredibly therapeutic. Through these sessions, I realized that I wasn't alone in my pain. Many others had gone through similar experiences and had come out stronger on the other side. The support group became a source of strength and encouragement, helping me to rebuild my confidence and regain a sense of normalcy. Life after divorce was challenging, but I was determined to move forward. I threw myself into my work, taking on additional responsibilities and even coaching the school's debate team. The extra work helped distract me from the pain and gave me a sense of purpose. I also rekindled old friendships and made an effort to reconnect with my hobbies, such as hiking and writing. After about a year, I felt ready to start dating again. My first few dates were awkward and filled with the baggage of my past, but eventually I met someone new, Anna, a social worker with a warm and compassionate heart. We took things slow, building a relationship based on trust and mutual respect. It wasn't easy, but it felt good to open my heart again and to see the possibility of a happy future. Reflecting on my journey, I realized that Jessica's infidelity had been a turning point in my life. It forced me to confront my vulnerabilities and reassess my priorities. Dear viewers, I ask you to subscribe to the channel under this video. I will be very grateful to you. While the experience was incredibly painful, it also led to personal growth and a deeper understanding of myself. I learned to value my own happiness and to seek relationships built on honesty and trust. As I sit in my new home with Anna by my side, I feel a sense of peace that I hadn't thought possible. The scars of the past remain, but they no longer define me. I've learned to forgive, to let go, and to embrace the possibilities of the future. Jessica's betrayal was a chapter in my life, but it was not the end of my story. Life goes on, and I'm ready to face whatever comes next with resilience and hope. In the months following the divorce, I made a conscious effort to rebuild connections with old friends and family. My brother Eric, who lived in San Francisco, invited me to visit him for a few weeks. It was a welcome escape from the memories of Portland, and the change of scenery did wonders for my spirit. We spent time hiking in the Redwood National Park, exploring the city, and reminiscing about our childhood. During my visit, Eric and I had many heart-to-heart conversations about life, love, and moving forward. His support and perspective helped me see things in a new light. He encouraged me to focus on my passions and to seek joy in everyday moments. This advice resonated with me, and I returned to Portland feeling more grounded and hopeful. Back in Portland, I decided to take up new hobbies to fill my time and distract myself from the lingering sadness. I enrolled in a cooking class, something I'd always wanted to do but never found the time for. Cooking became a form of therapy, allowing me to create and enjoy delicious meals while meeting new people. I also joined a local book club, where I found solace in discussing literature with like-minded individuals. The club meetings became a highlight of my week, providing intellectual stimulation and a sense of community. Through these activities, I slowly began to rebuild my life and find joy in new experiences. Living alone for the first time in years was a significant adjustment. At first, the silence was deafening, and the emptiness of the house was a constant reminder of my failed marriage. However, over time, I learned to embrace solitude. I started journaling, capturing my thoughts and feelings on paper, which helped me process my emotions. Solitude also gave me the opportunity to reflect on my life and set new goals for the future. I focused on self-improvement, both physically and mentally. I started exercising regularly, which not only improved my physical health but also boosted my mood and confidence. Meditation and mindfulness practices became part of my daily routine, helping me stay centered and calm. As I found stability in my personal life, I began to focus more on my career. An opportunity arose for a leadership position at the high school where I taught. The position of department head for the English faculty became available, and my colleagues encouraged me to apply. With some hesitation, I threw my hat into the ring. The interview process was intense, but I felt prepared and confident. When I was offered the position, it was a moment of validation and pride. The new role came with more responsibilities, but it also provided me with a platform to implement positive changes within the department. I was excited about the prospect of shaping the curriculum and mentoring younger teachers. With the new position came new challenges. Balancing administrative duties with teaching required careful time management and a lot of late nights. However, the support of my colleagues and the enthusiasm of my students made it all worthwhile. I found immense satisfaction in my work and took pride in the progress we made as a department. During this time, I also continued my relationship with Anna. She was understanding of my busy schedule and provided unwavering support. Our relationship grew stronger as we navigated the ups and downs together. We enjoyed simple pleasures like weekend getaways to the coast and quiet evenings at home. For the first time in a long while, I felt truly content. Despite the progress I made, there were moments when the past crept back into my thoughts. Occasionally, I would run into mutual friends who would mention Jessica, bringing back memories of our time together. It was difficult to hear about her life moving on, but it also reinforced my decision to close that chapter of my life. One day I received a letter from Jessica. She had moved to Los Angeles permanently and wanted to apologize for the pain she had caused. Reading her words stirred up a mix of emotions. While it was painful to revisit those memories, it also provided a sense of closure. I wrote back, expressing my forgiveness and wishing her well. It was a cathartic experience, allowing me to fully let go of the past. With the past behind me, I focused on building a future with Anna. We talked about our dreams and aspirations, and it became clear that we shared a vision for our lives. We decided to buy a house together, a place where we could create new memories and build a life as a couple. House hunting was an exciting adventure, and we eventually found a charming home in a quiet neighborhood. Moving in together was a significant step, but it felt right. We spent weekends decorating, gardening, and making the house our own. Our home became a sanctuary, a place of love and peace. We hosted gatherings for friends and family, filling the house with laughter and joy. It was a new beginning, one that was built on trust and mutual respect. With stability in my personal life, I found myself rediscovering old passions. I began writing again, something I had put aside during the tumultuous years of my marriage and divorce. I started working on a novel, pouring my experiences and emotions into the story. Writing became a form of expression and healing, allowing me to explore my thoughts and feelings in a creative way. I also began volunteering at a local community center, teaching creative writing to at-risk youth. It was fulfilling to share my love for literature with young minds and to see their enthusiasm and growth. Volunteering gave me a sense of purpose and reminded me of the impact I could make outside of the classroom. Throughout this journey, the relationships with my family and friends became stronger. My parents, who had always been supportive, were thrilled to see me happy again. They visited often, and we enjoyed spending time together, whether it was hiking in the Columbia River Gorge or simply having dinner at home. My friendships also deepened. Tom, who had been there through the darkest times, remained a close confidant. We often went on fishing trips, a tradition from our college days, where we would talk about life and enjoy the tranquility of nature. These connections were a vital part of my healing process and helped me stay grounded. As the years passed, I learned to embrace the present and appreciate the journey that had brought me here. The pain of the past no longer held power over me. Instead, it had become a part of my story, one that had shaped me into the person I was today. I felt a sense of gratitude for the lessons learned and the growth achieved. Anna and I continued to build our life together, always finding new adventures and challenges to tackle. Our relationship was a source of strength and joy, and we supported each other through thick and thin. We talked about starting a family someday, excited about the future possibilities. Milestones became a way to celebrate our journey and the progress we had made. Our first anniversary in our new home was a special occasion, marked by a small gathering of close friends and family. It was a reminder of how far we had come and the love that had grown between us. At work, I celebrated the successes of my students and the achievements of the English department. We implemented new programs that fostered creativity and critical thinking, and I was proud of the positive impact we were making. These milestones were a testament to the hard work and dedication of everyone involved. Life continued to present new challenges, but I felt better equipped to handle them. When budget cuts threatened the school's extracurricular programs, I worked with colleagues and community members to find alternative funding. It was a difficult battle, but the support from parents and students was overwhelming. We managed to save the programs, ensuring that students could continue to pursue their passions. In my personal life, Anna faced challenges at work that tested her resilience. As a social worker, she dealt with heartbreaking situations, and there were times when the emotional toll was overwhelming. We leaned on each other for support, finding strength in our partnership. Our shared commitment to making a difference in the world was a constant source of motivation. Finding balance between work, personal life, and self-care became an ongoing journey. I learned to set boundaries and prioritize what was truly important. Weekends were reserved for relaxation and spending quality time with Anna. We discovered a love for cooking together, experimenting with new recipes and hosting dinner parties for friends. Traveling also became a way for us to unwind and explore new places. We took trips to national parks, visited family in different states, and even traveled abroad. Each trip was an opportunity to create lasting memories and deepen our bond. Looking back on my journey, I saw a path marked by challenges, growth, and resilience. Jessica's infidelity and the subsequent divorce had been devastating, but they had also been a catalyst for profound personal transformation. I had learned to value my own happiness, to build relationships based on trust, and to find joy in the present. The lessons I had learned along the way shaped my approach to life. I became more empathetic, understanding that everyone has their own struggles and battles. This empathy extended to my students, friends, and family, enriching my connections with them. As I continue on this journey, I remain open to new beginnings and the endless possibilities that life offers. My relationship with Anna continues to flourish, built on a foundation of love, trust, and mutual respect. We dream of future adventures, perhaps starting a family, and continuing to make a positive impact in our respective fields. The story of my life is not defined by the betrayal I experienced, but by the strength and resilience I found within myself. It is a story of healing, growth, and the unwavering belief that no matter what challenges arise, I have the power to overcome them and build a fulfilling, joyful life. I always thought I had a good grasp on reality. My life was, by all accounts, normal. I had a steady job, a decent house, and a wife who I believed loved me. That illusion shattered one night when I came home earlier than expected. The house was eerily quiet when I stepped inside. Usually she'd be in the kitchen or living room, the TV humming in the background. But that night, nothing. I called out, but there was no answer. Something felt off. I walked down the hallway to our bedroom. The door was ajar, and I could hear muffled voices. My heart raced as I approached. When I pushed the door open, I saw them. My wife and another man, tangled in our sheets. They didn't notice me at first. I stood there, frozen, a mix of anger, hurt, and disbelief washing over me. When they finally saw me, the room erupted into chaos. He scrambled to gather his clothes, muttering apologies, while she looked at me with a mix of guilt and fear. I couldn't speak. I just turned around and walked out, the sound of my heartbeat pounding in my ears. That night was a blur. I left the house and drove aimlessly for hours. I didn't know where to go or what to do. The betrayal felt like a knife in my chest, twisting with every thought of them together. By the time I returned, it was past midnight. She was waiting for me, sitting on the couch with tears streaming down her face. "Please, let me explain," she pleaded as I walked in. I didn't respond. I went straight to the bedroom, grabbed a pillow and a blanket, and made my way to the guest room. I could hear her sobbing, but I couldn't bring myself to care. I felt numb. The next morning, she tried to talk to me again. "It was a mistake," she said. "It didn't mean anything." Her words only fueled my anger. "A mistake? You call sleeping with another man a mistake?" She flinched at my tone. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never meant to hurt you." Days turned into weeks and the tension between us was palpable. We fought constantly, harsh words and accusations flying back and forth. The trust was shattered, and every interaction was laced with resentment. I couldn't look at her without seeing them together, and she couldn't look at me without seeing the pain in my eyes. One night, during another heated argument, she finally broke down. "Why can't you just forgive me?" she screamed. "Forgive you? How can I forgive you when you destroyed everything we had?" I shot back. She collapsed onto the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. For the first time, I saw the depth of her regret. But it wasn't enough. The damage was done, and there was no going back. I spent hours thinking about what went wrong. I replayed every moment of our relationship, trying to find signs I might have missed. Was it my fault? Did I drive her into another man's arms? Dear viewers, more than 90% watch my content without subscribing. If you still have not subscribed, then I ask you to do so. For me, this is the best motivation to continue. The self-doubt ate away at me, and I couldn't find any peace. I decided to confront the other man. I needed to understand why this happened. I found his address and showed up at his doorstep one evening. He was surprised to see me, but he invited me in. We sat down and I asked him bluntly, "Why her?" He sighed and looked down. "I didn't know she was married at first. By the time I found out, I was already in too deep. She was unhappy, and I guess I was there at the wrong time." His words hit me hard. Was she really that unhappy? I left his place with more questions than answers, feeling even more lost. Months passed, and the wounds were still fresh. We tried counseling, but it only seemed to highlight the irreparable damage. The trust was gone, and every session felt like reopening a wound that refused to heal. One evening, she approached me with a resigned look. "I think we need to talk." I nodded, knowing where this was going. We sat down, and she took a deep breath. "I think it's time for us to let go. We're hurting each other more by staying together." I wanted to argue, to fight for our marriage, but deep down, I knew she was right. The love we once had was overshadowed by the betrayal and the constant fighting. I nodded slowly. "Maybe you're right." The decision to separate was mutual, but that didn't make it any easier. We divided our belongings, and I found an apartment not too far from our old house. The first night alone was the hardest. The silence was deafening, and the emptiness of the space felt like a reflection of my life. I threw myself into work, trying to distract myself from the pain. But every now and then, memories of her would surface, bringing a fresh wave of sadness. I knew it would take time, but I hoped that eventually I could move on. Slowly, life started to regain some semblance of normalcy. I made new friends, picked up new hobbies, and began to find joy in the little things again. The pain of her betrayal was still there, but it no longer consumed me. One day I ran into her at a coffee shop. She looked different, happier. We exchanged polite pleasantries, and as we talked, I realized I no longer felt the anger and resentment that once burned so fiercely. I'd moved on, and so had she. As I walked away, I felt a sense of closure. The past would always be a part of me, but it no longer defined me. I was ready for whatever the future held, and for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful. Looking back, the experience taught me a lot about myself. It forced me to confront my own flaws and insecurities. I learned that forgiveness is not about the other person, but about finding peace within yourself. Life is unpredictable, and sometimes it throws you curveballs you never saw coming. But in the end, it's how you deal with those challenges that defines who you are. I'm still healing, still learning, and still growing, and that's okay. But the story doesn't end there. Moving on wasn't just about new beginnings. It was also about coming to terms with the past. The memories of our happier times, our shared dreams and plans for the future, kept resurfacing. I couldn't just erase those years from my life. They were a part of me, a part of who I had become. I had to learn to live with them, to accept them as part of my history. One particularly rough night, I found myself going through old photo albums. Each picture was a reminder of the life we once shared. Our wedding day, vacations, birthdays, all those moments we had captured, now felt like a lifetime ago. I realized that those memories didn't just belong to us as a couple. They were part of my individual journey as well. They were the building blocks of my experiences and had shaped me into the person I was now. I reached out to close friends and family, something I had avoided in the immediate aftermath of the separation. Their support and understanding were invaluable. They didn't judge me, they just listened. They helped me see that moving on didn't mean forgetting the past, but rather learning to live with it in a healthier way. Their perspectives helped me understand that my feelings of hurt and betrayal were valid, but they didn't have to define my future. Work became a sanctuary, a place where I could focus and find some semblance of order amidst the chaos of my personal life. I took on new projects, sought out new challenges, and slowly began to rebuild my confidence. My colleagues, who had noticed my initial withdrawal, were supportive in their own ways, giving me the space I needed while also being there when I needed to talk. As months turned into a year, I started dating again, tentatively at first. It was strange navigating the world of relationships with the scars of my past still fresh. I was cautious, guarded, but also hopeful. I met people who had their own stories of heartbreak and healing, and it was comforting to know I wasn't alone in this journey. Dear viewers, I ask you to subscribe to the channel under this video. I will be very grateful to you. Each new connection taught me something about myself, about trust, and about the capacity to love again. One relationship in particular stood out. She was understanding, patient, and kind. She didn't push me to open up, but created a space where I felt safe enough to do so. With her, I learned that it was okay to be vulnerable, that it was okay to trust again. Our relationship grew slowly, built on mutual respect and understanding. It wasn't about replacing what I had lost, but about creating something new and meaningful. I also took time to rediscover my passions. I enrolled in a cooking class, something I had always wanted to do but never found the time for. It was therapeutic, creating something tangible and delicious from scratch. It reminded me that life could be fulfilling and joyful, even in the small things. I started hiking again, finding solace in nature, in the quiet strength of the mountains and the serenity of the forests. My journey of healing wasn't linear. There were setbacks, moments of doubt and sadness, but each step forward, no matter how small, was progress. I learned to be kinder to myself, to acknowledge my pain, but not let it define me. I learned that healing is a process, one that takes time and patience. Running into my ex-wife occasionally was inevitable, since we lived in the same city. Each encounter became easier over time. We both had moved on, and there was a mutual unspoken understanding that we were better off apart. Our shared history didn't have to be a source of pain, but rather a chapter in our lives that had led us to where we were now. One day, as I was sitting in a park, watching the world go by, I realized how far I had come. The pain of betrayal had once felt insurmountable, but now it was a part of my past, not my present. I had built a new life for myself, one filled with hope, love, and new possibilities. The journey had been difficult, but it had also been transformative. I often reflect on that time of my life, not with bitterness, but with a sense of acceptance and gratitude. It taught me resilience, the importance of self-care, and the power of forgiveness. It showed me that even in the darkest times, there is always a path forward, always a way to heal and grow. The experience also deepened my empathy for others. I became more attuned to the struggles of those around me, more willing to lend an ear or a helping hand. My own pain had given me a greater capacity for compassion, and that was something I valued deeply. Months had turned into a year and then some. I had settled into my new life, but there were still moments when the weight of the past bore down on me. Sometimes it was a song on the radio, a smell that reminded me of her, or a place we used to go together. Those moments were hard, but they were becoming less frequent and less painful. I had learned to breathe through them, to let them pass without allowing them to drag me back into the darkness. Therapy had been a crucial part of my healing process. Talking to someone who was unbiased, who could help me unravel the complex emotions and thoughts, made a significant difference. My therapist helped me understand that it was okay to grieve the relationship, to feel the loss deeply. She also taught me coping mechanisms, ways to manage the waves of emotion that sometimes felt overwhelming. I started writing again, something I hadn't done in years. Journaling became a way to process my thoughts and feelings, to get them out of my head and onto paper. It was cathartic, and slowly, my journal entries began to shift from pain and anger to hope and plans for the future. I found that writing about my experiences helped me make sense of them, to see them from different perspectives, and to gain a sense of closure. Social connections were another vital aspect of my recovery. I reconnected with old friends and made an effort to build new relationships. I joined a local book club, started attending community events, and even took up volunteering at a nearby animal shelter. These activities not only kept me busy, but also introduced me to a network of supportive and understanding people. Their companionship was a balm for my wounded soul, reminding me that I was not alone. One spring afternoon, while at a friend's barbecue, I met someone who would come to play a significant role in my journey. She was different from anyone I had met before, confident, independent, and incredibly empathetic. We clicked instantly, and over time, our friendship blossomed into something deeper. She understood my past, respected my boundaries, and never pressured me to move faster than I was comfortable with. Being with her was like a breath of fresh air. She showed me that love could be gentle and kind, that trust could be rebuilt, even from the ashes of betrayal. Our relationship was built on a foundation of open communication and mutual respect. We took things slow, savoring each moment and allowing our connection to grow naturally. For the first time in a long time, I felt truly happy. My ex-wife and I occasionally crossed paths, and each encounter was civil, if not cordial. Over time, the raw edges of our past had smoothed out, leaving behind a sense of mutual respect. We had both moved on, finding our own paths to happiness. It was strange, but also comforting, to know that she too had found peace. One evening, as I sat on the porch of my new home watching the sunset, I reflected on how far I had come. The journey from betrayal to healing had been long and arduous, filled with setbacks and triumphs. But it had also been incredibly transformative. I had learned so much about myself, about love and forgiveness, and about the resilience of the human spirit. I had discovered that while the pain of betrayal could be devastating, it didn't have to define the rest of my life. It was a chapter in my story, but not the entire book. The experiences had shaped me, but they hadn't broken me. Instead, they had revealed a strength and depth of character I hadn't known I possessed. Now, as I looked toward the future, I did so with a sense of hope and anticipation. I was ready to embrace whatever came next, confident in my ability to navigate life's challenges. I knew there would be ups and downs, but I also knew that I had the tools and support to handle them. Life had a way of throwing curveballs, but it also had a way of providing unexpected blessings. The betrayal had been one of the darkest periods of my life, but it had also led to some of the most profound growth and transformation. It had taught me the value of self-care, the importance of resilience, and the power of love and forgiveness. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, feeling the cool evening breeze on my face. I was at peace, not just with the past, but with the present and the future. I had come a long way, and I was proud of the person I had become. I was ready for whatever the next chapter held, confident that I could handle it with grace and strength. Life after my wife's betrayal continued to be a journey of self-discovery and growth. I had navigated through the worst of the storm and found my footing again. The days became brighter and my heart lighter as I embraced the future with a renewed sense of hope. After my ex-wife and I parted ways, I moved to a new city, seeking a fresh start. The move was daunting at first, but it turned out to be one of the best decisions I ever made. The new environment provided a clean slate, free from the memories and associations that haunted my old life. My job remained a constant, providing stability and a sense of purpose. However, I decided to take on new challenges and responsibilities at work. I enrolled in a management course, which not only helped me professionally, but also boosted my confidence. My colleagues noticed the change in me, and I soon found myself being offered a promotion. It was a testament to how far I had come, and it felt like validation of my efforts to rebuild my life. Outside of work, I continued to explore new hobbies and interests. The cooking classes had become a regular part of my routine, and I even started hosting dinner parties for friends. These gatherings were filled with laughter and warmth, a stark contrast to the loneliness I had once felt. The culinary skills I had acquired became a source of pride and joy, allowing me to express myself creatively. Hiking remained a favorite pastime. The solace of nature, the challenge of the trails, and the sense of accomplishment upon reaching a peak were invigorating. On one of these hikes, I joined a local outdoor adventure group. It was there that I met like-minded individuals who shared my love for the outdoors. The group became a close-knit community, and I found myself forming deep and meaningful friendships. Among the group was a woman named Claire. She was adventurous, kind-hearted, and had a contagious zest for life. Our friendship grew naturally, and we often found ourselves partnering up for hikes and other outdoor activities. Claire had a way of seeing the world that was refreshing and inspiring. She taught me to appreciate the present moment and to find joy in the little things. As our friendship deepened, I found myself opening up to her about my past. Claire listened without judgment, offering support and understanding. She shared her own experiences of heartbreak and resilience, and through our conversations, we both found healing. It was clear that our bond was special, and slowly, my feelings for her began to grow. I was cautious, though. The scars from my previous relationship still lingered, and I didn't want to rush into anything. Claire understood this and never pressured me. We took our time, allowing our relationship to evolve naturally. It was a stark contrast to the turbulence of my past, and I cherished the stability and mutual respect that defined our connection. One evening, as we sat by a campfire during a group camping trip, Claire turned to me and said, "You've come a long way, you know. I can see it in your eyes. The peace, the strength. It's inspiring." Her words struck a chord deep within me. She was right. I had come a long way, and the journey had made me stronger and more resilient. I looked at her, the firelight dancing in her eyes, and realized that I was ready to embrace this new chapter of my life. Leaning in, I kissed her softly, and in that moment, I knew that we had something truly special. Our relationship flourished, built on a foundation of trust, mutual respect, and shared passions. We supported each other's dreams and aspirations, and our lives became intertwined in the most beautiful way. Claire encouraged me to pursue my creative writing, something I had neglected for years. With her support, I began to write short stories, and even started working on a novel. Life with Claire was an adventure. We traveled together, exploring new places and creating unforgettable memories. Whether it was hiking through national parks, taking spontaneous road trips, or simply enjoying a quiet evening at home, every moment with her was filled with joy and contentment. As time went on, I reflected on the journey that had brought me to this point. The pain of my wife's betrayal had been a catalyst for profound change and growth. It had forced me to confront my insecurities, to rebuild my life from the ground up, and to rediscover the things that truly mattered to me. My relationship with Claire was a testament to the fact that love could be rediscovered, that trust could be rebuilt, and that happiness could be found again. We were two individuals who had faced our own challenges and emerged stronger for it. Together, we created a life that was rich with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. In the end, the experience of betrayal and healing had taught me invaluable lessons. I learned the importance of self-care, the power of resilience, and the beauty of forgiveness. I discovered that life is not defined by the challenges we face, but by how we rise above them. And most importantly, I realized that love, in its truest form, is worth the wait. Today, I live a life that is fulfilling and meaningful. I continue to grow, to learn, and to embrace the adventures that come my way. The scars of the past are still there, but they serve as reminders of my journey and the strength I have found within myself. With Claire by my side, I look forward to the future with hope and optimism, ready to face whatever comes our way, knowing that together, we can conquer anything. Life after betrayal is not the end. It is a new beginning. It is a chance to rebuild, to rediscover, and to find happiness again. And for that, I am eternally grateful. It's funny how life has a way of blindsiding you when you least expect it. One moment, everything seems fine, and the next, you're questioning everything you thought you knew. It started with a subtle change in her behavior. At first, I chalked it up to stress. We were both busy with work, and she had just taken on a big project at her company. She became more distant, spending more time on her phone, laughing at texts she wouldn't share with me. I didn't want to be the paranoid husband, so I let it slide. But there was this nagging feeling in the back of my mind, a quiet whisper that something wasn't right. I tried to push it away, but it lingered. One evening, curiosity got the better of me. I decided to check her phone. It was locked, of course, and when I asked her about it, she got defensive. "Why don't you trust me?" she snapped, her eyes flashing with anger. That was when the argument started. We'd never fought like that before, over something as simple as a locked phone. The arguments became a regular occurrence. We used to have such easy, comfortable conversations, but now everything was strained. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something, and she couldn't understand why I didn't trust her. It was a vicious cycle that neither of us knew how to break. One night, after another heated argument, she stormed out. I sat in our empty living room, my mind racing. That was when I decided to follow her. It wasn't something I was proud of, but I needed to know the truth. I watched as she drove to a small, dimly lit bar across town. She went inside, and after a few minutes, so did I. There she was, sitting in a corner booth, laughing with a man I'd never seen before. They were close, too close. My heart pounded in my chest as I watched them. He leaned in and kissed her, and she didn't pull away. My world shattered in that instant. I left the bar, my hands shaking, my mind numb. I drove aimlessly for hours, trying to process what I had seen. How could she do this to us? To me? The pain was overwhelming. I felt like a fool, like I had been living a lie. When I finally returned home, she was already there, sitting on the couch, waiting for me. I confronted her the next morning. She tried to deny it at first, but when I told her I'd seen them together, The color drained from her face. There were tears, screaming, accusations thrown like daggers. "You drove me to this!" she yelled. "You were never around, always busy with your own life." Her words cut deep, but I knew they were just a defense, an attempt to justify her betrayal. The next few days were a blur of painful conversations and silent meals. The trust we had built over years was gone, replaced by suspicion and resentment. We tried to talk through it, to understand where things had gone wrong. She admitted that she felt lonely, neglected. She said she had found comfort in the attention of someone who made her feel valued. It was a hard pill to swallow, realizing that my absence had contributed to this mess. As we talked, or rather fought about what had happened, the details of her affair came to light. It had started innocently enough, she claimed. A colleague at work who had shown her some attention when she felt neglected at home. Their conversations had quickly turned from professional to personal, and one thing led to another. I couldn't believe how easily she spoke about it, as if it were a minor transgression. For me, it was the ultimate betrayal. We had always prided ourselves on our honesty, our commitment to each other. Now it felt like I was living with a stranger. She insisted it was over, that she had ended it the moment she realized what it was doing to us. But the damage was already done. Every time I looked at her, dear viewers, more than 90% watch my content without subscribing. If you still have not subscribed, then I ask you to do so. For me, this is the best motivation to continue. I saw them together. Every time she touched me, I felt the sting of her betrayal. Our intimacy, once the cornerstone of our relationship, became a battlefield. I couldn't touch her without thinking of him, couldn't kiss her without tasting the lies. She tried to reassure me, to tell me it was over, but the damage was done. Every time we made love, it felt like I was competing with a ghost. The sex was different too. There was a desperation to it, a need to prove something to each other, but it wasn't enough. The connection we once had was fractured, replaced by suspicion and hurt. Every touch, every kiss, felt like a reminder of her infidelity. The nights we spent together were filled with tension. Sometimes she would cry afterwards, apologizing over and over. Other times, I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling an emptiness that no amount of physical closeness could fill. I found myself seeking solace outside our marriage, not in the arms of another woman, but in work, in hobbies, in anything that would take my mind off the pain. I started going to the gym more, spending long hours there just to avoid coming home. Friends noticed the change, but I couldn't bring myself to tell them. It was too humiliating. She, on the other hand, seemed to be trying to fix things. She suggested counseling, but I wasn't ready. The thought of sitting in a room, airing our dirty laundry to a stranger felt unbearable. I needed time, space to process what had happened. I started confiding in a close friend, someone I trusted. He listened without judgment, offering support and advice. It helped, but it also made me realize how deep the rift between us had become. I was opening up to someone else about the most intimate aspects of my life, something I should have been able to do with her. The final straw came one evening when I found out she had been in contact with him again. It was supposed to be over, she had promised. But there it was, a text message from him on her phone. My anger boiled over. We had another explosive argument, this one more intense than any before. Words were said that couldn't be taken back, wounds inflicted that would never fully heal. In that moment, I realized we couldn't go on like this. The trust was gone, and without it, our marriage was just a hollow shell. I packed a bag and left, needing to get away, to think about what I wanted for my future. Living alone was strange at first. The quiet of my new apartment was deafening. I spent a lot of time reflecting on our relationship, trying to understand where it had all gone wrong. There were moments of clarity, of realizing my own faults, but also moments of deep sadness and regret. We met a few times to talk, to try and find some closure. Those conversations were painful but necessary. We agreed to separate, to give each other the space we needed to heal. It wasn't easy, but it was the right decision. I threw myself into work, taking on extra projects to keep my mind occupied. The gym became my sanctuary, a place where I could channel my anger and frustration. I started going out more, trying to rediscover the person I was before all this happened. She moved out of our home, and we divided our belongings. Seeing her things disappear from the house was a stark reminder of the life we had built together, now reduced to memories and divided assets. It was a painful process, but it also felt like a necessary step towards healing. As time passed, I began to rebuild my life. I reconnected with old friends, started new hobbies, and focused on my career. The pain of her betrayal still lingered, but it was no longer the all-consuming force it had once been. I found solace in small things. Dear viewers, I ask you to subscribe to the channel under this video. I will be very grateful to you. Like the quiet of a Sunday morning, or the satisfaction of a job well done. Slowly, I began to see a future for myself that didn't include her. It was a hard realization, but also a liberating one. I started therapy, something I had resisted for a long time. Talking to someone who could offer an objective perspective helped me process my feelings and understand the deeper issues at play. It wasn't just about her betrayal. It was about how we had grown apart, how we had failed to communicate our needs and desires. Therapy was a turning point for me. It helped me understand that while her actions were unforgivable, there were underlying issues in our marriage that we both had ignored. I learned to forgive myself for my mistakes and to let go of the anger that had consumed me. I began to see her not as the villain in my story, but as someone who had made a terrible mistake. This shift in perspective didn't excuse her actions, but it allowed me to start healing. I realized that holding on to resentment only hurt me more. I also started to open up to new experiences. I took up painting, something I had always wanted to try but never found the time for. It became a form of therapy in itself, a way to express emotions that words couldn't capture. Months turned into a year, and I found myself looking forward to the future again. The wounds of her betrayal had left scars, but they were healing. I learned a lot about myself, about what I wanted from a relationship and what I was willing to tolerate. Trust is a fragile thing, easily broken and hard to rebuild. But it's also essential for any relationship to thrive. I knew that if I ever decided to open my heart again, I would be more careful, more aware of the signs, and more honest with myself and my partner. I met someone new, a woman who was kind and understanding. We took things slow, both of us wary of getting hurt again. It was different this time, built on a foundation of honesty and mutual respect. She knew about my past, about the betrayal and the pain, and she accepted it without judgment. As our relationship grew, I realized that I had truly moved on. The past no longer had a hold on me. I was able to love again, to trust again, and to believe in the possibility of happiness. It wasn't always easy, but it was worth it. I still think about her sometimes, about what we had and what we lost. But those thoughts no longer bring pain. Instead, they serve as a reminder of how far I've come, of the strength and resilience I found within myself. Life has a way of teaching us lessons in the most painful ways. Her betrayal was a devastating blow, but it also forced me to grow, to reevaluate my priorities, and to become a better, stronger person. And for that, I am strangely grateful. As I sit here writing this, I realize that this story isn't just about betrayal. It's about forgiveness, healing, and the power of moving forward. It's about finding the strength to let go of the past and embrace the future with an open heart. I've learned that no matter how deep the wound, it can heal with time and effort. I've learned that even the most painful experiences can lead to growth and self-discovery. And I've learned that love, in all its forms, is worth fighting for. As I settled into my new routine, I began to understand the importance of self-care. I took time each day to do something that brought me joy, whether it was reading a good book, going for a long walk, or simply sitting in the park and watching the world go by. These small moments of peace helped to ground me, to remind me that life was still beautiful despite the pain I had endured. I also made an effort to reconnect with my family. In the midst of the turmoil, I had distanced myself from them, not wanting to burden them with my problems. But as I healed, I realized that they were my support system, my rock. I started visiting my parents more often, spending time with my siblings, and sharing my journey with them. Their unconditional love and support were invaluable in my healing process. My new relationship continued to flourish. We took things slow, building a strong foundation of trust and mutual respect. She was patient with me, understanding that I was still healing, and never pressured me to move faster than I was comfortable with. Our conversations were open and honest, and I found myself sharing things with her that I had never shared with anyone before. It was a new experience for me, one that was both terrifying and exhilarating. With her, I felt safe, valued, and understood. Work also became a source of solace for me. I threw myself into my projects, finding satisfaction in the progress and accomplishments. My colleagues noticed the change in me, and I received several commendations for my dedication and hard work. It felt good to be recognized, to feel competent and capable again. But I also made sure to maintain a balance, to not let work consume me the way it had before. As I continued my therapy sessions, I delved deeper into my own psyche. I confronted my fears, my insecurities, and the lingering pain from the betrayal. My therapist helped me to see that while the betrayal was a significant event, it did not define me. I was more than the pain I had experienced, more than the mistakes I had made. I was a complex, multifaceted individual with the capacity for growth, change, and love. I also began to volunteer at a local community center, helping out with various programs and initiatives. It was a way for me to give back, to make a positive impact on others. I found great satisfaction in helping those in need, in seeing the difference I could make in someone's life. It was a humbling experience, one that reminded me of the importance of empathy and compassion. As the months passed, I felt a growing sense of peace. The pain of the betrayal had faded, replaced by a sense of acceptance and understanding. I no longer felt the need to dwell on the past or to harbor resentment. Instead, I focused on the present, on building a future that was filled with love, joy, and fulfillment. There were still moments of doubt, of course. Times when the old wounds would ache, and the memories would resurface. But those moments became less frequent, and I learned to deal with them in a healthy way. I no longer let them consume me or define my actions. Instead, I acknowledged them, learned from them, and moved on. One day, as I was sitting in the park watching the sunset, I realized just how far I had come. The journey had been long and arduous, filled with pain and heartbreak. But it had also been a journey of self-discovery, growth, and healing. I had faced my darkest fears, confronted my deepest insecurities, and come out stronger on the other side. I knew that I would always carry the scars of the betrayal, but they no longer defined me. They were a part of my story, a testament to my resilience and strength. And as I looked towards the future, I felt a sense of hope and optimism. I was ready to embrace whatever came next, to face new challenges with courage and determination. It's been 2 years since the storm of betrayal turned my life upside down, and I find myself reflecting on how far I've come. The memories of my wife's affair, once so raw and painful, have now faded into the background, replaced by a new chapter in my life. I'm living in a cozy apartment on the edge of the city, a place that has become my sanctuary. The walls are adorned with my paintings, vibrant expressions of the emotions that once threatened to consume me. Painting has become more than just a hobby. It's a passion, a way to channel my thoughts and feelings into something beautiful and tangible. My mornings now start with a routine that grounds me. I wake up early, often before the sun rises, and spend a few quiet moments in meditation. It's a practice I picked up during my therapy sessions, one that helps me center myself and face the day with a clear mind. After meditating, I head to the gym. Fitness has become an integral part of my life, a way to not only stay in shape but also to clear my head and release any lingering stress. The gym is where I push my limits, where I feel my strength and resilience grow with each passing day. Work has also taken on a new dimension. I've been promoted, a recognition of my dedication and hard work. My career, which once felt like a refuge from the chaos of my personal life, is now a source of pride and accomplishment. I'm leading a team of talented individuals, working on projects that challenge and inspire me. The office, once a place I escaped to, has become a space where I thrive and grow. In my free time, I've continued my volunteer work at the community center. Helping others has given me a sense of purpose and fulfillment that I never knew I needed. I've developed close bonds with the people I work with and the community members we serve. Their stories of struggle and resilience remind me that I'm not alone, that everyone has their battles to fight and their own paths to healing. My relationship with my family has never been stronger. We gather regularly for Sunday dinners, where we laugh, share stories, and simply enjoy each other's company. My parents, once worried about my well-being, now see the positive changes in me. My siblings and I have grown closer, our bonds strengthened by the shared experiences and support we've given each other. As for my love life, it's in a good place. The woman I met after my separation has become an important part of my life. Our relationship, built on a foundation of trust and mutual respect, continues to flourish. We still take things slow, valuing the quality of our connection over the speed of its progression. She's my confidant, my partner, and my friend. Together we've created a space where we can both heal and grow, where past pains don't define us but rather shape us into better versions of ourselves. We've traveled together, exploring new places and creating new memories. Our adventures have taken us from the serene beaches of Hawaii to the bustling streets of New York City. Each trip has brought us closer, helping us learn more about each other and ourselves. Traveling has become a way for me to step out of my comfort zone, to experience the world with fresh eyes and an open heart. I still attend therapy, although not as frequently as before. My sessions have shifted from focusing on the pain of the past to exploring my hopes and goals for the future. My therapist has become a guide, helping me navigate the complexities of life and relationships with wisdom and compassion. Therapy has taught me the importance of self-awareness and self-compassion, lessons that continue to shape my journey. The scars of my past are still there, but they no longer define me. Instead, they remind me of my resilience, of the strength it took to rebuild my life from the ashes of betrayal. I've learned to forgive, not just my ex-wife, but also myself. Forgiveness has been a crucial part of my healing process, a way to let go of the anger and resentment that once held me back. I've also made new friends, people who have enriched my life in countless ways. We formed a tight-knit group, bonded by shared interests and mutual support. We hike together, have movie nights, and often gather for barbecues at my place. These friendships have been a source of joy and stability, reminding me of the importance of community and connection. Looking back, I can see how far I've come. The journey hasn't been easy, but it has been transformative. I've discovered strengths I never knew I had, found passions that ignite my soul, and built relationships that nurture my spirit. My life now is a testament to the power of resilience, to the possibility of healing and growth, even after the deepest of betrayals. I no longer dwell on the past or fear the future. Instead, I live in the present, embracing each moment with gratitude and hope. I've learned that life is a series of ups and downs, of joys and sorrows, and that each experience, no matter how painful, offers an opportunity for growth. My story is one of transformation, of finding light in the darkness and emerging stronger and wiser. As I continue on this journey, I'm filled with a sense of optimism and excitement. I know there will be challenges ahead, but I'm confident in my ability to face them with courage and grace. My past has shaped me, but it doesn't define me. I am more than the betrayal I endured, more than the pain I suffered. I am a survivor, a warrior, and a seeker of joy. In sharing my story, I hope to inspire others who may be going through their own trials. Life can be incredibly difficult, and the pain can seem unbearable at times. But healing is possible, and there's always hope. We have the power to overcome our hardships, to find strength in our struggles, and to create a life filled with love, joy, and fulfillment. This is my life now, a life rebuilt from the ashes, a testament to the power of resilience and the beauty of new beginnings. I am grateful for every experience, for every lesson learned, and for the incredible journey that has brought me to this moment. And as I look towards the future, I do so with an open heart and a hopeful spirit, ready to embrace whatever comes next.